Welcome to r/Tales from Retail, where we take a closer look at some of the rude, entitled, and sometimes totally unexplainable situations that retail workers deal with on a daily basis. I'm Uncle Reddit, and have I got a story for you.
Well, hey there guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to do a little bit more Tales from Retail. And since we have no live cats again, how about a picture of Quarter? This was one of her first adventures outside in a harness. She wasn't very impressed. Why did they let me buy it when it was wrong? I work in a pet food store with mostly returning customers. We have a rewards program, and for that we keep a sales record for when the program applies. The other day a customer came in and wanted to exchange a product they'd bought a couple of days before. While the whole interaction was very pleasant, they asked me about how our POS works, what I see when I log in. I politely explained to her that our POS only shows the items we are selling at the moment on the main screen and that we don't look up sales histories unless specifically asked by the customer. Then they asked me why did my coworker let them leave with the wrong thing. I reminded them that people often buy dog and cat food together. Also, it's not our job to police what people buy. If you bought something without paying attention to what it was, we don't question it. I kindly told them that it's up to them, the customer, to know what they buy. All in all, it was well handled on both sides. We were polite and the questions got answered, but that question. You're an adult. I'm not here to babysit you. Agreed. I don't understand why it's everybody else's job to make sure that you do the right thing, buy the right thing, say the right thing, drive the right way, eat the right way. We don't need a nanny state, folks. Be grown up. Take care of you. And if you're not capable, you might want to hire somebody to kind of guide you along in life. An assistant of sorts. A customer tried to make me pick a foundation shade for her. A few weeks ago when I was picking up some toothpaste that were part of people's BOPIS orders, I don't know what that is, in the dental care section, a middle-aged woman ran up to me from 18 aisles away, holding up a L'Oreal foundation and asked me if we have any lighter shades. I thought she meant that there weren't any more lighter shades on the shelf. So I walked to the aisle where we have our L'Oreal stuff to scan the shelf to see if we have any in the back room. But as soon as I got there, we had an entire row of lighter shades of that same foundation. I got really confused. Then she told me that she asked another employee to pick a shade for her, and she, one of my coworkers, selected a shade that was obviously too dark for her, the customer. So it turns out she wanted me to choose a foundation shade for her. I just told her that I don't work in that department. Then she said, "Then can you get the girl who works at the makeup counter here?" I really wanted to just walk away, but in the past, I had customers find me in another part of the store roughly 10 minutes later and tell me that they need to report me to my manager. So instead, I asked the person who stocks the cosmetics section if she can help the customer, and she just tells me don't worry about her. Then I just continued on with the BOPIS order I was picking. Oh, buy online, pick up in store. Oh, I'm the genius. Seriously, customer? First of all, this isn't Ulta, Sephora, or any other cosmetics store, so we employees here are not trained or expected to know how to do this kind of stuff. Second of all, why don't you just do your own research instead of asking some random, potentially unknowledgeable people for help? Or at least go to an actual makeup store and ask one of their workers instead. Just posting it here because I wanted to see people's thoughts on customers who ask questions like this. Yeah, it's amazing. It's an opinion. There's no right or wrong. Well, I don't know. It depends. If you want to look like a clown, maybe there is. I don't know. There's really no right or wrong answer. It's more of an opinion thing. You know, this isn't the old-fashioned Gimbels, Macy's, whatever fancy stores that were around before I even came along, where, you know, it was full service. You walk in, and I guess maybe there are still some stores like that, but I don't buy makeup. It wouldn't work anyway. But yeah, I mean, that's not what most stores do nowadays. You walk in, you know what you want, or you figure it out online, then go to the store and get what you want. It's as simple as that. Again, you need somebody else to hold your hand for you and police you. Why? If you can't figure it out, then you don't need it. I got too personal? This happened last week, but I was working registers and at one point I was serving this elderly woman. Of course, typical thank you for waiting and do you need a bag spiel. And then it got to paying for her transaction. She was paying in cash. Her total was like $8 and some change. After she gave me a $10 bill, I thought I saw her digging through her wallet, so I wanted to see if she was going to give me some coins. As in past instances, customers would last minute decide to give me coins after I've already processed their cash transaction. She then mumbled something I didn't catch, so I asked her, "Sorry, can you please repeat that?" She replied, "Nothing, I'm waiting for my change." I apologized and stated I thought she had some coins to give me and quickly finish up the transaction. After I gave her the change and receipt, she suddenly goes, "You shouldn't be asking personal questions. You have no right to know my personal stuff." And she walked away while I'm standing there confused as of what personal questions I asked. Yeah, I don't think there was a question in there. She was just pausing for a minute to see if you dug for change. If you didn't, then okay, she was going to process your transaction. People are weird. I've had people do that to me in the store when I'm paying cash for something. They'll wait to see, or they might even ask me, "Hey, do you have the 5 cents or whatever, because some people prefer to do that. They prefer to dig for their change and give exact change or get some sort of different change back because they think they're clever. Me, but I don't mind answering it. I mean, it's not a huge thing. They didn't ask my birth date or my gender preference or whatever. Customer complained that I confused them. So I'm a customer assistant and quite often work in self-scan, approving alcohol sales, dealing with things being too heavy or light, and so on. So a few days ago, a woman comes in with clothes and asks if I can take the security tags off. I explain no, store policy only lets us take tags off items once they've been purchased. So she pays and then I take her to the detagger where my colleague is standing. I detag 3 of her 4 items when she says she's just going to get a bag, leaving her 4th item behind. 10 minutes passes and she's not back, and my colleague leaves to go to the toilet. Whilst on the way, she passes the customer service desk where said customer was complaining that I had given her confusing instructions. Luckily, my colleague spoke to the customer service desk to clear things up, and nothing became of it. The lady collected her final item and left. If my colleague hadn't told me of this, I wouldn't have known I'd confused her. She did make me somewhat uncomfortable though, calling me gorgeous, handsome, amongst other pet names. So yeah, no idea what was on with her. Didn't impact my day much and continued on as normal. She sounds like pretty much everything confuses her. Some people probably just shouldn't be out on their own. That's what I'm starting to learn from these stories. That could be a whole new career path. I could be the confused old person whatever keeper. Customer comes in less than 5 minutes to close for something he doesn't need for days. This happened over a month ago. I work as a yard hand and delivery driver at a retail store that sells building material. About 10 minutes before our day is done, we go from one side of the property to the other, locking up all the storage sheds, gates, etc. It was a Tuesday or Wednesday, and we were less than 5 minutes from close. We're closing the last shed attached to the store when a customer sticks his head out of one of the doors leading into the store, asking us not to lock up yet. He needs some lumber. I asked him what kind, and he said he needed a certain kind in 8 pieces 7 feet long, but since we didn't have it in 7, he was going for 8-foot pieces. I tell him it's in one of the sheds we already locked, so I'll have to go get the key. We go into the shed where we have it, but we were out. I knew we had more, but it was in another shed behind locked gates, doors, and buried under and behind lots of stock, so getting to it would take over 15 minutes. So the 2 coworkers who came out to help, I told them to take the 14-foot pieces we had, cut them in half, and that would give him the 7-foot pieces he would need. I go back to the store so the staff can properly update the sale. At this point, it's a few minutes past close, so I go in and let them know with the customer there. The customer then said, "Well, if it's a hassle, I can wait. I don't need it until Friday, so I can come back and pick it up then." Oh, my jaw dropped. I was very close to saying, "Then why are you here at close?" But I just bit my tongue. I just gave him a look, then walked out as my coworkers finished cutting the wood and loading it into his vehicle. I don't understand why people do that. They make such a big deal like it's an emergency right now. But then you find out, I don't need it for a few more days yet. What are you, an idiot? Oh yeah, add that to the list. Idiot keeper. Margaret can take anything. I worked for a retailer that provided assigned lockers to its employees. I usually kept my jacket, thermos, some snacks, and a box of plastic utensils in there. One day I walked into the break room for lunch and I see Margaret in my locker. "Why are you in my locker?" "I need a fork," she said with a lot of attitude. "This is my locker, and I need a fork. You can't just go into my locker and take my things. I paid for those." "Well, I need a fork." She turned and walked away with my fork. I went to the manager, but she really didn't care. I maintained that she just can't go and take things without even asking, so she promised to talk to Margaret. A week later, I brought lunch for friends. We'd been talking about good barbecue spots in town, so I spent about $100 out of my own pocket to feed the team I worked with in the back room. Well, guess who walked in and made herself a plate without even asking? What are you doing? What's it look like? I'm making a plate. This isn't your food. I brought this in to feed my friends. I see food, so I'm making a plate. I paid for this. It's not for you. No one said there was free food in the break room. Any food in here means it's for everyone. I complained to the manager, but again, she didn't care. I stopped bringing things in after that since apparently Margaret can take anything she wants. Margaret's another one. Entitled. Rude. Thinks everything's about her. I don't think so. Take my lunch once? Cool. Second time, you're going to be making trips to the bathroom unexpectedly. Customer's cordless phone stops working outside the house. Disclaimer, this happened about 10 years ago, but still amuses me to this day when I think about it. I once worked in a rather popular electronics store. An elderly woman came up to me one day, produced a large cordless phone handset from her purse and tells me that it's not working. I ask her what she meant by not working. She tells me that it just goes dead when she tries to use it. Okay, I say, let's check it out. Do you have the base set? We'll plug it in here and see what's happening. She looks at me confused, tells me that she left the base at home and doesn't understand why I need it. Turns out she would lift the cordless phone from the base, put it into her handbag, and then head into town. But whenever she would try and use it, it wouldn't do anything. Naturally. She was miles away from her home and the base. I tried to explain to her how these things worked, but she just offered the counter-argument of, but I see folks everywhere using their phones on the street. Oh my god. Poor old thing thought she was buying a cell phone. Oh, good gosh. While she may not have naturally known this, even though cordless phones have been around for more than a decade, way more than a decade, they were around when I was a kid, if she had bothered to read any of the paperwork that came with the phone and base set, she would have understood how it worked. Read, kids. This keyboard is too foreign. This is a short post, but I found it pretty funny. Sorry for my English, it's my first language. So I'm doing returns at a pretty average Canadian big box store, and this woman comes in wanting to return a laptop. I ask what the issue is, and she says that the keyboard has too many buttons, and she thinks it might be another language, like French or something. Being a Canadian store, we occasionally have laptops with bilingual keyboards that most English speakers, myself included, hate because it's completely different than an English keyboard. So I get wanting to return the laptop. I open it up to check for damage and whatnot, and I see that the keyboard is, in fact, a totally normal US English keyboard. It turns out the issue that made the keyboard look foreign is, in fact, the number pad. She thought it was too foreign and wanted to return it. I was just baffled, didn't say anything, and returned the laptop as normal. That's probably pretty smart to just not even engage. Sometimes it's like, why bother? They're not going to get it. You just get the blank stare and a little bit of drool, you know. What did you need help with? This happened about 20 minutes ago. I work at a very large chain grocery store. It was right before they sent me on my lunch break. I was manning the self-checkout station when this elderly lady walked up to me. She pointed to an item in her cart and then asked for help. I told her I'd be happy to help and asked her what exactly she needed help with. She then gets offended for whatever reason and then says, "I just told you." Again, as I said earlier, all she did was point to a single item in her cart and said she needed help. I again asked her what exactly she needed help with, but this time she said, "How would you feel if someone said that to you?" She then said she'd find another employee and she walks away. I was in no way rude to her, so I don't understand why she was acting like that. It's like kids, before they totally learn to communicate with you and, you're trying to teach them to name things, A kid that wants juice going, Say the word juice or cup or something. And that's how kids usually learn to communicate without grunting like a caveman. Most. Well, hey guys, if you like this video, click the one here on the screen because I think you're going to like that one too. See ya.